Hi, my name is Bhagyashri Shungare. In this video, I will talk about a real company case called Auto Parts Corporation, that is APC. The company has some big problems related to safety, leadership, hiring, and fairness. So, in this video, we'll talk about legal, ethical problems. Second, what the new manager David can do, what caused all this, how to fix this in future. So I'll share all the 5 trusted sources during this video to support my points. So let's start with part 1, that is legal and ethical problems. So let's start by looking at the 3 main legal problems and 6 ethical problems. So first is legal problem number 1, that is unsafe workplace. So as we all know that workers might get hurt, machines had guards, there was little training and safety rules which wasn't followed. This breaks the law in Ontario. So, according to that, every company must train their workers and keep them safe at work. Then, let's talk about legal problem number 2, that is discrimination in hiring. So, the company refused to hire anyone from Quebec and outside Canada. So, this discrimination goes against the Canadian human rights law, and this act actually says that you cannot treat people unfairly because of where they are born. Then there is a problem number 3, a legal problem 3, that is privacy violation. So workers were forced to give their urine sample and were not told why. That's the violation of their privacy. So I think workers must give a permission for medical tests, and it's a law in Canada. There is another ethical problem that I would like to highlight here. So we'll now talking about the ethical problems. So we'll start with one, that is using temporary workers unfairly. So most workers were temps, paid low wages, and get no benefit. So there are factors involved, and it wasn't treated enough with respect. So Freeman and Sweward in 2006 says businesses should treat people fairly and not just care about the profits. So now we'll talk about ethical problem number 2, that is hiding the truth. So the company fired their big auditor and hired some local one. So this can hide the financial and legal issues. So as per OECD in 2015, it says that companies must be honest and open about their records. So now we'll start with ethical problem 4, that is no proper training. So most workers got only 15 to 20 minutes training, and that's really dangerous in factory. As per VSIB recommends that at least 8 hours to 2 weeks of training is needed depending upon the job type. Now we'll talk about ethical problem number 5, that is ignoring safety. So as we all know that leaders ignore the injury reports and blame workers instead, and that's the only sign of bad leadership. I think being a leader, it's really important to get all your workers in safe place. And as per Harvard's Gino in 2020, it states that toxic culture makes ethical mistakes, and it worst over time. It can be worse over time. Now we'll talk about ethical problem number 6, and that is no voice for employees. So, as we have been discussing about the ethical problem, so there is one scenario, there was no union, no support, and no way to report issues. So, that time workers were afraid to speak up, and good leaders make sure that people, mostly their employees, feel heard, safe, and respected. So these are all the ethical problems that we have discussed so far. Now I will be going ahead with part 2, that is 5 things David can do. So let's talk about that. Now let's talk about what David, the new manager, can do, and the good and the bad of each choice. So question, it's not a question, it's option one, quit the job. So there are pros and there are cons involved. So one of the pros is he stays true to his values. One of the disadvantages, I would feel that he leaves the problem behind. Option number two, report the company. There is pro again. It may force the company to fix things, and if we talk about from the other perspective, then he might lose his job or face backlash. Then there is option number three, talk to the board, because this might support the change, or on the other hand, if he do not talk to the board, then they may support the president and do nothing. Then there is option number four, that is improve training, because this will help workers stay safe, work better, and if not, if the training is not improvised, then it takes time and money at the same time. Then there is option number five, ask for the outside audit, because I think auditing is something that can really clarifies the situation, the problem, and it's add honesty and check problems. And if the outside audit is not been done, then it may reveal more issues and hurt the company image. Now let's talk about part 3, what caused all this. So there are five main reasons APC in this. So let's talk about one by one all those reasons. Before I go ahead, I would like to just recollect all the legal and ethical issues all over again. So we talked about 3 legal issues and 6 ethical issues. So the legal issues which was involves unsafe work conditions. The workplace had many safety hazards, machines without guards, poor training, no hearing protection, and missing safety inspection. And this really breaks the Ontario workplace safety laws, because according to them, companies must follow and must provide a safe environment and proper training to the workers. And then second that we have discussed is discriminatory hiring practices. So APC refused to hire anyone born in Quebec and only hire Canadian born workers, which is not fair. So this is again a violation in Canadian human rights and anti-discrimination laws, that you can't be unfair to your workers. And the Canadian Human Acts um, Rights Act prohibits the discrimination based on the birthplace and ethnicity. And third that we have talked is privacy violation. Its workers were required to give their urine samples without them being informed why it has been taken. So this is a breach of privacy and medical consent law in Canada. So employees must be aware and must have their consent to the medical testing. And let's just highlight some of the ethical issues all over again. So one was exploitation of temporary workers. That means most workers were temps earning minimum wage with no benefits. Many of them were injured and poorly trained. This shows a lack of fairness and care. According to Freeman in 2006, ethical businesses must treat their stakeholders fairly. And not just stakeholders, but I think everyone should be equally treated. I think that is something very important from the business perspective as well. Second that we have discussed is conflict of interest. So as per Michael Smith, the president secretly owned the staffing company and supplying workers, and this is a self-dealing, and um, and it's both unethical and potentially illegal, because as per Canadian law you cannot just self deal with supplying workers. According to um, Ferrell 2021, conflict of interest destroys trust in leadership. So that is something that has to be taken care of. Then there is lack of transparency. The company fired their national auditor and hired a small local one, possibly to hide the problems. This breaks the ethical norms for accountability and transparency. The OECD in 2015 states that the ethical corporation needs strong independent audit, and because of that, we can just observe that there is a lack of transparency which was happening. Fourth point that we have discussed is failure to train employees. So train. Okay, so now let's talk about part 3, which is what caused all this. So I will be talking about the main causes. So let's now break down the main causes behind APC serious problems in clear and simplified way. So first is money over people. So, as we have discussed so far, so we have understood that APC wanted to make more money, even if it meant putting workers at risk. Instead of that, hiring trained and full time staff, they used cheap temporary workers, which was at high risk. Many of these workers got hurt because they were not properly trained, they were not properly given how to actually follow and work according to the rules, and they, because they were not properly trained and protected, it got the workers got hurt. So this was something that is the main cause behind all of this, that is money over people. Second, we'll talk about leaders' conflict of interest. So that is Michael. Michael, the company's president, he secretly owns a hiring agency that we have already discussed. So that supplied most of the workers. So the company president itself is his secretly have owned a hiring agency and he's supplying the most of the workers, which is something not expected and which is not acceptable as well. That means he was making money from both the company and the agency. So, this is also called a conflict of interest. It made him choose what helped him himself. Apart from that, also it made him choose not what was best and also the safest for the workers. So as a leader, Michael has lack of conflict of interest, and he was not actually you know making sure from the agency's perspective, or he was really um, unethically supplying the workers, which was also not expected and acceptable. So now let's talk about the third cause, that is no oversight. So APC fired their national auditor and hired a smaller one. So they have actually fired their national auditor and hired a smaller one, which will not called a national auditor, but it could be a small auditor, who held a small position. So probably to avoid a strict check. So without proper audits, we know that without proper audits, no one was able to watch or hold the company's accountability, and it's really unfair, and it is unfair at the same time. It's unfair, unsafe and unsafe practice, because with proper audits everyone can be accountable, everything will be safeguarded, but it was not the case here. So because APC, the company, has fired their national auditor, they had to get their audit done from the small auditor from outside source. So which was something that they are exploiting their own company's legal matters, and they are not holding their accountability. And yeah, this is what something. Now let's talk about the fourth point, that is unfair hiring rules. So APC had some really illegal and unethical hiring requirements. For example, the first which I come across is workers had to be born in Canada, but not Quebeco. So that is something which is really unfair, I would say. Second is everyone had to lift heavy weights, even if it wasn't needed. Then third is married workers had to buy special life insurance, which is, I think, it should not be something that has to be, a kind of rule. Then third is third we have already discussed. So let's talk about the fourth is the company could drug test employees without asking permission. So I think all these factors which I talked about is unfair hiring rules. So is APC company had really some illegal hiring I think rules and requirements which everyone has to follow, and this is something which is not required, but still they ask their employees to do that. So these rules were discriminatory. It broke the human right laws in Canada, and I think they should really think about making sure that their hiring rules are fair. Now we will talk about the fifth point, that is no proper training. So temporary workers were given only 15 to 20 minutes of training. 15 to 20 minutes. So I think for any person whoever joining a company, they need a proper training. At least it is recommended to get the 8 hours or 2 weeks training, so that the person will be well versed with the equipment and the job duties. But here no proper training was been given, and temporary workers were given only 15 to 20 minutes, which is not at all enough for a new person to handle a situation or a equipment or a shift. So when experts recommends 8 hours to 2 weeks training, so because this lack of training has led to some many accidents, injuries, and even a major fine from VSIB. Also, here I would like to point out one thing is that the high turnover made the situation worse. Like people came and went so fast that no one learned the job so properly. So I think proper training is really important for any organization or any um, employer, that has to be given to their employees who are new joinees, and this is something which is very lacking here, because of which some sort of problems has arise and they could not handle it properly. So now as we have discussed all these factors, now we will let's go ahead with part 4, that is how to prevent this situation in future. So now let's talk about what APC can do to fix these things or to avoid these problems in future, which will ever happen again. I'm sure that if APC follows the things correctly, then all these things can be fixed and it will not be repeated. So let's talk about the first thing that has to be fixed, that is start a whistleblower program. Now what's that? So create a safe way for employees to be safeguarded, or so that employees can report unsafe or unfair treatment without any fear or being punished or being fired. So I think this program will definitely help employees to have that sort of in mind, that they can also come up with their opinions if they are suffering from something, or if they are having any fear about telling anything about their task or anything, any unfair treatment that they are going through. So this program will definitely help them to come across and to discuss about the things, the scenario, the problems clearly. Now second is give proper training. So as we have already discussed this point, that before worker starts on their machine, it is really important for any organization to give them or get them a proper training that follows VSIB standards. Training helps prevent injuries, build confidence, and it is really helpful for any employee to learn the equipment, the machines, the factory, or the kind of task that they have to work upon. So proper training will definitely build confidence in the person. It will definitely prevent injuries, and all this thing will be sorted. Now we'll talk about third point, that is use honest and independent audits. So hiring auditors, it's really important for every organization, because I think uh, creating that accountability about the legal matters, documents, is really something that they should take care of. Hiring auditors who are not connected to companies or its leaders, independent check will definitely help ensure safety, fairness, and it will be well maintained. So I think using honest and independent audits will definitely help them to fix this thing. Then let's talk about remove conflict of interest. Leaders like Michael should not secretly profit from side businesses that work with the company. There are transparency and ethics in leadership. So, we will be talking about how they can remove the conflict of interest. So, this will be the fourth point that APC should do to fix this thing. Then, let's talk about fifth point, that is follow human rights law. In this point, there is no discrimination, like no more discrimination. Hiring policies should be fair, hiring policies should be legal and inclusive, like everyone deserve equal opportunities and dignity at workplace. So I think following that human rights law is really important. Like there is no discrimination, no one will feel biased, no one will feel that there's something which is unfair, or any task which is not equally distributed. And everyone, like at workplace, it's really important to take care of what the employees are going through, and there should be equal opportunity that has to be given to everybody, because everyone is working hard and paid equally. Now I would like to conclude here. So to wrap up, David walked into a company that was breaking laws, ignoring safety. He was also mistreating workers. So I think all these factors that we have discussed so far was uh, also something that a David should take care of in future, because following unethical practices at workplace or not taking care of your employees will definitely make things even worse, and it will definitely will not be a good sign for a company. And David walked into a company uh, that he was like breaking laws, ignoring safety, mistreating his employees. So it was a tough situation, but the problems can be fixed with courage, truth, and ethical leadership. I think being a leader is really important for to follow a certain sort of ethical leadership qualities. Like ethical leadership means doing what's right, and even if it's difficult, but in ethical leadership it's really important to follow what is right, and giving equal opportunity to the co-workers, and giving like fair treatment to everybody, and everyone deserves that equal opportunity and dignity at workplace. So I think ethical leadership comes under that, means doing what's right even when it's difficult. It means putting people before profit. Like everything is not surrounded about profit and making money. Building trust is really important, ensuring the justice at workplace. With the right kind of action, APC can become a safe and fair place for everyone to work in, because at some point people do feel unfair, or they feel like they are not treated properly, or they are not been given proper kind of training. So definitely people would not like to stay at workplace where the justice has not been given or the fair treatment is not been given. So I think if APC follow the rules rightly, if they are giving everyone equal opportunities, following the human rights laws, they are removing the conflict of interest, they are hiring independent audits, they are giving proper training, following the programs that are equally important to have the safeguard place for co-workers. I think they can be in the right place. APC can become a safe and fair place for everyone to join and work. And yeah, this is what something that I would like to wrap up with. So yeah, this is all about something that I would like to share, and thank you so much for watching.